Tiny Tarot, hey, hey, what have you got to say today? This is LowKeyMagickal with a K, aka Christina Smart, and the podcast master, Earl.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? I was looking at some
meters. He
really
really wasn't prepared with the speech like I asked him to be. There was going to be this long soliloquy. And finally, I got to say soliloquy on camera. Haven't got to do that in a while. We are here to talk to Tiny Tarot today. That's why you're here at the Tiny Tarot podcast. But just first, there's a little bit of business. I want to say thank you to everybody that's been viewing. The channel is doing very well, and the little short reads, the daily reels that come out on Facebook are doing incredibly well. So I want to say thank you. And the way that we continue to support that is with your likes and your shares and your little comments. All of those things are helpful. So thank you so much for helping our channel grow. Also, that we are on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and guess what? Spotify. That's fantastic. I am so excited about Spotify. If you're someone that really likes to listen as opposed to watch, or if you are like me and you like to listen more than once to see if there's something else that you can get from this process, get on Spotify. Let it run. Let it go in the background. See what you notice that you didn't notice before. We appreciate that. So thank you so much. And also in the video information in YouTube now, if you would like to donate to our channel, there is a Cash App ID there that you can donate to freely. Thank you so much. I would appreciate that. Again, that keeps our channel growing. And a little more credit, Earl, the podcast master, is with Toy Robot Productions, and I'm really proud of the work that he's done. So yay, yay. Thank you so much. Let's say a big shout out to Earl. Okay, well, we're going to, Tiny Tarot goes, hey, what's this show about anyway? This show's about me. Let's get this going. And I say, absolutely, Tiny Tarot. I've been focusing this week, and my thought was how often we tell, what is your story? And we were discussing shadow work with that, thinking about your story and where you've come from. Why is a story so important to start with? Why do we call it that, my story? And that's because I've come to understand that as human beings, we make sense of things by putting them into a narrative with a beginning and with an end, and we want it to have a meaning, and we want to be the hero of that story. You know that we've heard that phrase, the hero's journey, over and over again. And so we want to be able to look at what we're doing or even make sense of what's happening around us by putting a story to that. And that's a lot like what we do when we read tarot, is that these cards represent all of the energetic influences and all of the different stages and times in your life when you need to make a choice. All of that's represented here with artwork and with all that neat stuff. And then when we lay it out, it creates a narrative. And that's part of reading tarot, is understanding the narrative that is communicating with. That's how it's communicating to us, because that's how human beings communicate. We love a good story. That's why we go see movies. That's why we read books. And how much of our original tradition was oral tradition. Storytellers were a really important member of the tribe, because they kept, not only were they entertaining, and that's great, but they also were that storehouse of information. So I believe that's why symbolism gets so distilled, is that over time, those traditions had to get distilled down to give me the guts of the meaning. Like, just give me what's important. If I've got to remember all of this, let's make it where one symbol includes 4 or 5 messages. And over time, it's just like boiled down to that really distilled, what we're working with right now. So yay, Tiny Tarot, hey, hey. And it's going, hey, what's the question? And my question is, if we're all telling a story, that means if we're a hero, most likely we are encountering an antagonist. And the antagonist is the one that pushes against, kind of feels like an obstacle at the time, right? But that's always overcome in the story, and the hero becomes more for overcoming that. So let's look at Tiny Tarot today and say, okay, Tiny Tarot, here's what I was thinking. Anyway, sometimes Tiny Tarot will take it sideways. Correct, Earl? Sometimes Tiny Tarot goes, really, that's what you want to talk about? Because that's not what we're going to talk about today. But we're going to say, okay, is there obviously, in most people's lives right now, there probably is an antagonist. And if there is, how do we work with that and make that better? What is that force in our life that just doesn't seem to really want to see us succeed sometimes? An obstacle, possibly. And I know that we've talked about obstacles are being removed. That came to me today. What if sometimes an obstacle being removed is more an obstacle suddenly is redefined and is no longer seen as an obstacle to you. Ooh. So I had a read recently where the person's antagonist in their life, she felt was her spouse. And she said, how do I go through a spiritual awakening when I have someone that's my partner that's just really not supporting that? And I thought to myself, and again, I'm going to say this now, when I am channeling, sometimes I go a couple of times, but that's when it's a reminder to let my throat chakra open up and be relaxing in the message that's coming through. But she said, how can I continue to go on this spiritual awakening that I feel is necessary for me if the person that I feel is most important to me isn't supporting me in that? And we were talking about looking at a person as an obstacle and then learning how to see what they're showing you that's reflecting what's in yourself that isn't really supporting you. And when the view of that shifted, that same behavior was no longer an obstacle type of behavior, like it was more of an opportunity for her. And, it was a whole lot of wonderful things that came through. But that was my thought. Sometimes we see something as an obstacle and we're so determined that that's a thing that must be removed and moved for me. When once we take even just a slightly different view, it's no longer defined as obstacle anymore. And then really, once that definition is no longer on it, it's no longer a problem. However that becomes, most people will say, and then it becomes something great. It doesn't always become something great. It just no longer becomes that obstacle and you just sort of step by and go on about your life. But we're going to ask Tiny Tarot, in those moments when you are encountering your own, what you would consider to be your antagonist, what's the best thing to do? What's the best thing to do when working with your antagonist? All right, here we go, Tiny Tarot. Earl, I'm going to ask you, I have divided this deck into 3 piles, and I would like for you to pick either deck 1, 2, or 3.
2.
Today is 2.
2.
It is the middle deck.
Middle.
All right, Tiny Tarot, hey. Let's see where you're taking me today. And the first card that comes out is the 2 of Pentacles. And that is about the juggling, because really, look at him. I mean, he's juggling. That's the first thing that you see. And he's juggling pentacles. And those are the things that are most important to you. So my first thing with this is yes, it involves money. So it could be something like involving your job. Like, man, I've really got to balance my home life and my job. But if you also look at this, he's maintaining balance despite the fact that there are large waves, like almost comically looking large waves behind him. And part of that it's not just maintaining balance, it's maintaining balance when everything around you is not maintaining. It's not making it easy for you. Okay, there we go. So the importance of being able to maintain the balance of the things that are truly important to you, and these are the physical home comforts, your money and your household, and the things that are physically important to you. And you'll have to bear with me. I'm working with a camera that flips me back and forth, so I gotta get used to that. But he is using, now see that infinity symbol he's kind of looping around, and it makes me sort of think of the rodeo guys that have the lasso that they make it do things that you really wouldn't think that a rope would be able to make that shape and maintain it. So that tells me that he's using some of that infinity knowledge that we talked about. He's using that inner knowledge, that instinctive knowledge, and trusting his own instincts to keep the things that are important to him in balance, even though the things that are around him are not encouraging him to keep them in balance. In fact, they are rather tumultuous and encouraging him to drop both of those. Ooh. Sometimes the antagonist in your life feels like the one that's encouraging you to drop this really delicate balancing act that you've got going on. So here I am. I've got work, I've got home, I've got family, and maybe I'm really starting to wake up into my own spirituality as well. I feel like all of this is a delicate balance. And then I have this person that comes up in my life, whether it's my child or a boss at work or my spouse or someone that, is a friend who just kind of comes in and out of my life, who breezes in and goes, hey, by the way, I'm going to see those waters down. Oops, I'm going to throw a card at you. See those waters down there? I'm gonna whip into your life. You thought things were going great, and then I'm just gonna, I'm gonna mess those waters up, and then whoop, I'm back out. Guess what? I'm gonna leave you with that to deal with. Sometimes whoever that is that's presenting that way in your life, that may be the antagonist in your life right now. I've got this beautiful balancing act going on that feels like it's going pretty well, and then, damn it, you've got to breeze in and do that thing. You give me that news, or you suddenly decide you've got to change everything, or you don't agree with how I'm maintaining that balance. You know what? Sorry, I don't agree with who you're hanging out with or what you're doing that makes you feel better, or these weird spiritual practices that you're doing. Whatever this is, I don't agree with it. And I'm just going to come in and mess it up and make you feel bad. And then I'm going to breeze back out. That could be the antagonist that Tiny Tarot is talking about right now. And then we have a lovely Three of Pentacles. And that's interesting because we're going from a 2. Man, these two don't always line up for me like that so beautifully. But these go from a 2 to a 3. And the 3... okay. The 3 is reminding you, first of all, that collaboration is necessary. Sometimes a third party, is this the reason why we need an antagonist from time to time? Tiny Tarot, really? You're just going to tell me right away that sometimes a third party is necessary to stir that stuff up in order to get you to understand the power that's there in collaboration, okay? And 2, not to take yourself so seriously. Like, that's really what the Three of Pentacles kind of emphasizes. A lot of tarot is, you have to, especially with these older decks, what the people are wearing is also telling you something. And you see the bright color of the person that's wearing the robe there. Anytime you see that bright frilly sort of that doesn't really seem to fit, it's like, don't take yourself so seriously. This Three of Pentacles says, yes, what you have created up to this point is beautiful and wonderful. Congratulations on that beautiful balancing act. But maybe this third person is coming in not to get their fingers into your pie, not to mess up your process, not to say, I like you better. I mean, that may be coming out of their mouth. I like you better the way you were. I like it better when you were just doing what I wanted you to do. And now you're making things work on your own. And I don't think I like that so much. Well, part of that is to get you, first of all, not to take yourself so seriously. Like, you know what? Maybe I realized that I did in my new spiritual practice, or in my new set of even hobbies, like just whatever you're doing that makes you feel good, that's kind of doing this for you. Maybe in doing that, I did pull back a little bit. Maybe I wasn't being as cool as I was before. Maybe I was okay, now you got to remember this too. You know, when you kind of go into that place where you're like, who is supporting me and who isn't? Who do I need to spend time with and who do I not need to spend time with? And maybe we do get a little hermit mode. There we go. A little hermit mode where we don't want to come out. And it's easier for me to maintain my spiritual balance when I am alone most of the time, or when I am only doing those things that I really like to do. Leave me alone and let me crochet for 74 hours. Like, maybe that's not healthy. Like, that's part of it. You do need that person that may be pushing against a little bit to come in and go, hey, remember, there's also a real world that you've got to come out here and be with the rest of us. You're not going to, like we were saying, after the Enlightenment, run down the street naked going, I know everything and everyone else is right. You still have to come out and participate in this world, correct? So the Three of Pentacles says, first of all, that's important to remember, is that sometimes what we're viewing as an antagonist is an energy that's coming in to one, remind us not to be so serious all the time about ourselves and our process. And then 2, to understand that everyone has got something to offer. Even what may not look like it has a positive edge to it will also be something that adds to, even if it helps you overcome. I think of our family unit as a bit of a microcosm where you're getting to, in a safer environment, and I'm talking about when you're in a safe household, in a safer environment, you can explore these kinds of, someone pushing back against you, so that when you come out into the real world and that conversation takes place, you've already had a loving space to bounce these ideas off and say, here's how I feel about this. It might be a little different. I've even had those conversations because I have people in my circles that have a very strict set of religious beliefs. And when we interact socially once in a while, we run into each other and they will say, hey, what are you doing now? And I really hesitate to just come out and say, hey, I'm doing tarot videos and I'm practicing witchcraft now and I will, and again, it's not that I'm holding back my own self, because I understand, I'm not saying that these people are wrong. I'm not taking myself so seriously that I'm saying, oh, well, you see, I've come to understand that your beliefs are wrong and mine are right. Because that's not it. I'm developing a different story than what you may have expected, and a different story from what you chose. How do I say that in the real world? And we'll bounce those things off of each other in the house to say, hey, man, if we bumped into so-and-so, like, what would you tell? Oh, I just tell them you're a media creator. And I'm like, okay, cool. Everybody's happy. And then we walk away, because what does it matter? Like, that's what this is saying. Don't take it so seriously. And some of those things that you are considering to be obstacles and you are considering to be your, like the bad guy in my movie right now. That's what my grandson likes to say. He's the bad guy. I'm like, yeah, he's the bad guy. If you've got a bad guy right now, maybe there's something in there that you really need to look at that can be either added to your process, be a little bit more dedicated to. When I meet someone that's really, really devout, even if they're devout in a different direction than I am, I still feel like, wow, their faith. Like I will almost be a little bit, man, I feel so good about how do I cultivate that same kind of faith in the direction that that sort of thing. You can always find something in there. And wow, okay. And then the Three of Hearts comes up, and that's exactly, man, I like it when Tiny Tarot goes, yes, I'm going to reconfirm what I just said a second ago. Woman, listen to me. This Three of Hearts is the thought process of that, damn it, there's a third party that I didn't want involved. Now, in this, if we look at the artwork on this, remember that, oh, that's not the right one. Low key, get a little more magical right here with this camera. This is the Three of Swords, and the swords represent our thoughts and our words. And you can see there's three of them here, and they're literally piercing a heart. So this often comes up, just the heartache card. But why is it a heartache card? It's a heartache card because there's a third party involvement that you feel like it's not your business. It's, it's not your business to be flirting with my partner, or it's not your business to be the mother-in-law that tells me how to run my household. See what I mean? It's that third party kind of energy that you feel like you don't have any business coming in here and messing with what I have already built. So we're just reinforcing that. So here I am. I feel like I've got my shit together. I'm doing pretty well. And even when things are rocky behind me, not too bad. Occasionally somebody breezes in, tries to mess that up. And that's how I'm seeing it. They come in and they want to get their fingers in my pie. They're like, hey, what are you doing here? What are you meditating? What is that? That sounds like bullshit. What are you doing? Or, this great project that you're working on, why are you spending so much time on it? You and I used to be doing stuff together. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And you feel like you have to explain yourself. And you feel like, okay, this could mess up what I got going on. I've been working really hard, right, on accepting everyone around me, on understanding that the light that shines out of you is also the light that shines out of me. Yes, namaste. Okay, I see that, right? So why are you being so hard on me? Light that is also me. Why are you making my life difficult right now? Why are you coming in and messing things up, right? Everything was going really well. Well, that's what Tiny Tarot was saying. First of all, don't take it so seriously when this happens. Ooh, it's not a sign that you are not enlightened or that you are somehow off path when an antagonist arrives. That's important to remember. Okay, here's one that's coming in. Let's say you've been maintaining a great family household, and then one of your children comes to you with some news that just it's not the news that you wanted to hear. Dating someone that you didn't want them to date, or that they're going to, I've just up and decided to quit a job, or just something that as a parent just sort of, everything was going so well. I was so at peace and I wasn't worrying and my anxiety was lower and I felt, my my hair was growing back, or whatever it is that you want to put in there. And now and it's like now the antagonist has come back up as the face of your child or your boss or your spouse or just whoever that meddling, what you feel like that third party energy might be. There it is. It's that antagonist. Don't take that so seriously. Don't take that as some kind of, this means that I'm not on a spiritual path. Being on a spiritual path and reducing your anxiety and embracing that enlightenment does not mean that you have now become exempt from the energies of the universe that ebb and flow. Look at the bottom of that. For everyone. Just because you really have everything in balance doesn't mean that those waves aren't going to do this from time to time. The goal is to have your stuff so well in balance that it's very difficult for someone to throw you off. Even when they come in with thoughts and ideas and news and opinions that you really wish they would just leave to themselves. Look, things were going great. I don't need your fingers in this pie. I don't need you messing up my flow. I don't need you somehow showing me that I'm not as enlightened as I thought I was. And that's really absolutely not what it was. Oh, yay, Tiny Tarot. All right, well, temperance. This is how we work with this. That's exactly what I just said. I love this. Got to do a dance real quick because Tiny Tarot's just bringing it. Temperance is a beautifully balanced card, and you can see that here in the imagery. We've got a sort of like an angel figure with balanced wings, and we've got 1 foot on dry land, 1 foot in the water, and 2 cups. Now remember, the cups represent our hearts, and the hearts that hold our emotions, which are represented by the water. And in temperance, this imagery has 2 cups, and one is pouring back and forth like this. One's pouring, so they're each half full. One is keeping the other one perfectly balanced back and forth. So there's a lot in that. It's understanding that the way that we deal with the antagonist energy when it presents itself to us is to be in balance and in that flow to begin with, is to be maintaining the closest and most effective balance that we can. It's represented with those 2 pentacles in the water in the background, and it's represented with those 2 cups and the water that the angel there is dipping his foot into. Temperance is not too hot, not too cold. And if you're cooking, when you temper something, let's say you have a hot liquid that you have to put eggs into, you can't just dump the eggs into hot liquid or you'll have scrambled eggs. You have to take a little of the hot liquid and put it into the cooler batch and then work it until they get closer to the same temperature so you don't ruin the whole thing. Balance, maintaining that balance, that temperance, it's more than balance. Temperance is that foot not on the gas too hard, right? And not driving too fast, not driving too slow. Not going all in, but not being afraid and backing out and refusing to do it at all. Temperance is understanding that, oh yes, okay, so again, we're doing this like water. If you're living with the water right here all the time, that's like panic mode, because you know if it goes up to right here, and that's just one thing coming at you, right? One missed paycheck or one disappointment or one piece of bad news, and I'm just gonna lose it. But if you can get to the point where you're right, the water is more like waist or maybe even knee level. When that wave comes, when that news comes, you've got plenty of room to breathe before it gets bad because you've really got your stuff together. You've got this balanced out. You're not crying wolf over every little thing because you understand that a true emergency is a true emergency. And I'll just tell you right now, this is not a true emergency. I'm sorry. I got my balance going. All right. I understand that what you're coming at me with may not be the best thing. I may feel like right now that what you're coming at me with, not the best news. I don't feel like it's your business. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to understand that whatever you're bringing to me right now is probably something that I need to look at. Something that the universe is saying, hey, this may not be the best right now for you, but look at it, because there's going to be something in there that I can use. And there's going to be something in there that reminds me not to take my process so seriously. This third sword should not have been able to pierce me the way that it did. Where do I need to look at maintaining my balance, being a little easier on myself, not flying off the handle at every little thing? That's what temperance is saying. 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on dry land. How can you learn anything if your cup is already full? Your cup has got to be right at that perfect balance. You're not too needy, right? Needy. But you're also not too standoffish in those moments too, okay? Because there's some of us that, wow, especially when we start with something new, we get a little bit timid when we go to the people that care a lot about it. Hey, you know what? I kind of started this new process. It's called like we're not really coming at it with who we really are and saying, hey, I started this new process. It's something that I'm learning about, and I understand that you may not understand it just yet, but I would appreciate it if you could just, maybe if you give me an hour a day for meditation, that would be great. And we come at it like that and not, well, I think I might, you see what I'm saying? Temperance is also about not being too wishy-washy when you're making these changes and dealing with these antagonists in your life. See them for what they really are. This is not just somebody coming in to be difficult with me because the universe is punishing me for something that I've done. It's not that at all. It's more, what am I being shown right now? What in these rocky waters am I being shown right now that are going to help protect me from this happening again, so that I understand better? What does an antagonist really represent in your life? What can they bring to you? Ooh, all right. Well, part of that is brand new ideas. That's what a Page of Swords is. A Page of Swords brings brand new ideas that are refreshing and that you can be excited about. This does two things. An antagonist can bring this to you with fresh new ideas. But the excitement of fresh new ideas also attracts antagonists. And I'm trying to figure that out. Like Tiny Tarot is just saying this. Understand that it's part of the journey itself. The journey of I am out and I'm doing something new automatically attracts the attention of the energies that are naturally set up to push against that. And you know what I saw? All right, I'm going to make another movie reference, Earl, and this one's because of you. There was this thing that, if you've ever seen The Matrix, how any person that was plugged into the Matrix could be inhabited by an Agent Smith.
Yes.
Where they would pop in and be like, oh, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I really do think there are, with Stephen Pressfield in the War of Art, was talking about that natural resistance that exists inside of all of us when we are trying to create something really new and revolutionary, that there is an energy at play that naturally comes up against that and says, really? I don't think so. You're going to have to work a little harder than that. And that's where most of us will say, you know what, you're right. I think I'm going to go back to what I was doing. So, I'm going to use an example. I would really like to start, making my own music and being a musician.
Right,
and immediately someone says, hey, you know what? Most of the people on the radio are like 18 years old. You are really too old. You know how long it takes to develop? You know how long it takes to write a book? You know how long it takes to lose 100 pounds? You know how long, just whatever. You just immediately
Right.
You will encounter that. There is something about that excited, brand new energy of new thought that immediately attracts that Agent Smith to pop up, and whoever is around you that cares about you to go, oh, are you really sure you want to do that? It's really expensive to do. So understand again, antagonists in your life are not a punishment. They are also like a pop-up on your laptop saying, are you sure you want to continue?
Are you
That's
sure
really it.
you want to
It's
continue?
not so much that they've thrown a giant log at your feet that you're going to have to leap over like a video game. It's more like, are you sure you really want to continue? Because guess what the rest of the world is going to do while you're pursuing those dreams?
Continue.
It's going to be nonstop that. Are you sure you want to continue?
Yeah.
Are you sure you really want to keep doing this? Like, especially when it gets rough. Are you sure? Are you sure? And if you have already tempered yourself to that, then that's going to be a non-issue when it comes up. Hey, person that wants to fulfill their dreams. Here's, by the way, I want you to know that I printed out 40 pages of reasons why you shouldn't fulfill your dreams right here. I've also printed out reasons why tarot is the devil. And I've also printed out so many reasons why you should never leave your house again. And here you go. And you have to be ready to say, first of all, what I'm trying to do is more important than that. And I love how this Page of Swords, if you pull a sword out of here, it becomes your Page of Swords. I kind of like that because we were saying, how do you keep that third antagonist party from coming in and wrecking it for you, making you feel, right? You pick that sword up and you say, wait, by the way, here's the whole reason why I started this in the first place. And I realize, pretending you're my Agent Smith, that it is your job to put these pop-ups in front of me and say, hey, is this what you really want to do? But guess what? It gives me the opportunity to say, hey, yeah, here's 40 pages that I printed out of reasons why I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. You've already got that there. You've already got that balance. You've already got the temperance. You know how to say things without flaming people up like I do. And you're ready to say, this is why I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. This is why. I mean, you can be the antagonist in my life. Thank you for being the antagonist that I encountered today, because this was easy. This was easy for me to say, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, hon, because it really excites me, because it is something brand new and different. And what I have come to learn is that the universe supports exciting, brand new, and different. Yes, it will attract antagonists. That's also part of the natural process. But I'm doing something really different. I'm doing something that I enjoy, that's keeping me in balance, right? And building something for me, whatever this is for you, whatever this is that you are deciding to encounter in your life, deciding to pursue in your life, anything that you're reaching out and going, wow, this is different thought process than I had before. I'm enjoying philosophy. I'm enjoying, again, creating music, creating things online. This is a time for all of us. There's so few barriers to entry now for people that really want to express themselves. And you're going to do that. Yay, yay, yay. I'm going to express myself. But understand you're going to encounter that antagonist. Pull that sword right out because you've already practiced. And what does that? Ooh, 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 ooh. Where does that put you? That puts you at the Magician. Oh, God, I love this card. This is the very beginning. This is, I like to call it when the sperm hits the egg. It's that very, very first energy coming into the universe that's pure and unadulterated, like light before it's hit the prism. The Magician is working with all of the tools in tarot. So he's got a cup, he's got a pentacle there, he's got the sword in his hand. You see all of that? And he's got the bright red robe. He's got his wand. He's got everything. And he's got one hand to the sky, one hand pointing to the earth, and then he has that beautiful infinity symbol on top. Goodness sakes, this process makes you powerful. Understand that even though we encounter these antagonists and it may feel like this is somehow making me less, this is somehow defining me as less, that's not it at all. This is all making you so much more powerful, and it puts more tools in your toolkit. That's what the Magician knows how to do, is how to use all of the tools effectively. It's alchemy. It's turning lead into gold. And what is turning lead into gold, really? It's taking something that I felt was heavy and invaluable, and it's turning into something bright and shiny and incredibly valuable. And that's what whatever face is on whatever challenge that you're meeting right now. Try to break it down that way and say, okay, what is this challenging within me that's going to make me stronger? And where can I stand up for myself that I wasn't standing up for myself before? And where have I come across an opportunity now for me to say, oh, okay, maybe collaboration wouldn't be so bad. Maybe you have some ideas that you can share with me. Maybe your ideas, even if they aren't lining up completely with mine, maybe even taking a moment to bat these ideas back and forth, even in the sense that we don't agree with each other, that'll give me a better handle on how do I defend what I'm doing? How do I defend what I'm believing now? Not in that I want to get in an argument with somebody, but really and truly, like if I have, why am I believing what I'm believing? How can I articulate this in a way that not that I'm trying to convince someone else, but just to make them say, oh, okay, I got it. You're following a path. Great. Have a great time. If I see your videos, I'll click like. Like that's really all it takes. I don't have to look at everyone that isn't doing what I'm doing or isn't agreeing with the way that I'm doing things. I don't have to look at that as an adversary. It's really not. It's just another step. It's just another way for me to say, first of all, don't take myself so seriously. Secondly, I'm going to be able to take something valuable away from this. I don't have to let it hurt my heart. I pull that third party energy out and I take that sword on with me, with my excitement, with my energy, with my determination to continue. Even when it might not make sense. The page is on his way to becoming a knight. He's not a knight yet. He's on his way and he's excited about it. That's what new ideas do for us. They give us power and they excite us. And if we can keep the temperance in mind, okay, we don't make a big deal out of something that's not, first of all. But we don't belittle ourselves either. Don't make yourself less to make somebody feel comfortable. Okay, but don't on the very, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be. I like how sometimes I just don't even communicate with words, just noises and facial. You know what I mean? When you're like, I think he doesn't like me and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to argue with him. And no, we're not doing that kind of thing. Temperance says there's a place in the middle for everyone to exist peacefully with each other. But you've got to understand, A, how to stay in your own lane. Okay. Don't get too hot. Don't get too cold. You don't have to make yourself less to be who you really are, but you don't have to stomp on anyone else either. And the magician puts all of that together and knows how to work that. And I think that's what this is that in dealing with this every day, even if it's just an individual daily, there's a guy at work that's not very friendly with me, you know, how do I not let that be an obstacle anymore? How do I not care that people don't agree with the way I live my life? How do I, boy, when you do adopt a new belief system, do you think that you walk outside and suddenly the whole world has transformed to agree with you? No, that's not the way that it works at all. You just understand how to move within this with a different rhythm. It's just a really different rhythm than what you had before when you start being a little bit different. And you get that balance, but don't maintain such a stiff, oh, I like this tiny tarot. Do not maintain such a stiff and inflexible balance that anyone can just breeze in with a little bit of bad news and jack up everything for you. That's part of that temperance balance as well, is that that's really your responsibility. You can blame that every time you come in here, oh, I'm just so upset. How much credit are you giving to that person to be able to just crank your knob up or put you into negative gear? The reason that we meditate is so that when we've got all the apps closed in the background, so when those pop-ups come up and say, are you sure you were having a good day today? You sure you really got yourself calm today? Let's test that. That you really can say, hey, thanks for the test. I appreciate it. Things are still good. I'm still on path. I hope things go well for you, right? You can move on about your day, but I'm going to maintain my balance. I'm going to maintain my temperament, which I think is part of the word temperance. And oh my goodness, what kind of power does that give you? You really, I mean, let's think about that. If the person that's really good at pushing your buttons suddenly feels like they've lost the power to push your buttons, what does that I mean, is that literally just giving you a power in that moment? They're going to go somewhere else to push buttons, see? Because yours don't work anymore. I mean, that's exactly what the magician is saying. It's like at that point, you've kind of waved your wand and be gone. Like that's not even we've redefined it. That's no longer an antagonist. Now, understanding a different antagonist will present itself to you in due time. But because of temperance and because of what we've learned and because of what we're coming to, oh, it's so good, Tiny Tarot. It keeps us in perfect balance. And I'm going to say thank you, Tiny Tarot, for helping us put all those pieces together. I don't think I was seeing antagonists that way before. I was like more of a, I hate to say that, but really for me, it sometimes felt like a confirmation that I wasn't doing things right. You know, like, oh, I wouldn't be encountering this obstacle if I had meditated. Like that sounds silly, but that goes back to that same frame of mind that we used to have, that I have to appease something bigger than myself. And now I'm trying to appease the construct that brings me, right, negative energy from time to time. If I can appease it, it won't come. And Tiny Tarot says, baby, that's like trying to control the weather. Those winds, that energy, that ebb and flow, that's going to happen. It's not a punishment. It's the way that we ride out our life. But the way that we ride those waves strategically. We no longer look at it as, oh, it's just coming and no, we've understood. All right, I'm going to stand up first of all because the water's not as deep as... That's a great image. Stand up first of all and realize that you're not in as deep as you thought. You've got more control than you realized, and that you can maintain a balance that's not so stiff. You can maintain a balance that if your schedule goes off at the beginning of the day, it doesn't wreck you for the rest of the day. Just scratch off a couple of things. Okay, I got to take somebody to the doctor now. That's cool. I'll move this over to tomorrow. It doesn't have to, you've ruined everything. No, nobody has that much control over my emotional state of mind. I'm going to maintain that control over my emotional state of mind. And I'm going to maintain that balance in a flexible way. In a flexible way that allows me once again to realize the water is not as deep as it was before. A little bit of turbulence is going to be okay. I can learn from this situation as I can learn from every antagonistic interaction I can. And I can I don't have to make myself less, but I don't have to make them less either. Ooh, that's something that temperance says. Oops, all right. That is something that temperance says. Within every interaction, no one has to come away feeling like less. You don't have to. They don't have to. That's, again, man, that's working that balance and just working those every day. Why do you think, again, Tiny Tarot's like, why do you think those antagonists come up small and big? So that you can work those things out. Because apparently we're untangling it from more than just us. When you untangle something like this and you no longer see it as a constant negative force in your life, it untangles it for others. And it's a holographic representation of it's like little problems that drop in. And when the universe helps a problem get solved, it allows that problem to get untangled for others because now they have energetic access to it. Tiny Tarot's like, that's a whole nother show. Okay, well, that'll be a whole nother show. And guess what? It's magic, folks. That's really understand that there's some things that we are calling magic that are just technologies that we don't understand yet. So what I'm going to leave it with, what Tiny Tarot says to leave it with, is that consciousness is very similar. That's kind of what we're dealing with consciousness. When we untangle a problem consciously for ourselves, we are untangling it in what we don't understand yet. But it is a technology, like literally, technically, we're helping to solve problems for more than just ourselves. We're solving problems on a lot of different levels. And Tiny Tarot says, thank you for that. You need a little gold star to understand that. Not to make you say, oh, now I got to solve all the problems of the universe. That's not it. Just understand that every time you have those aha moments, every time you walk away realizing, I didn't make myself less, I didn't make them less, it was a positive interaction. What I saw as negative before, I no longer have to see that way. That's magic. You have just done magic when that happens, and it helps more than you. Tiny Tarot says it. Oh, I am LowKeyMagickal with a K. I feel like this one came out better than expected today. I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to say thank you to Earl, the podcast master. And thank all
You're
of
welcome.
you. Yes, we are welcome. And thank all of you. And like I said, before you go, like, share, subscribe, leave a little comment. We appreciate it so much. And we will see you next time. I am LowKeyMagickal with a K. Have a magical rest of your day.